We're back.
We are back. The problem is that
No intro?
yeah, that's the problem.
You don't need an intro. We're already
The
having
intro's
fun.
not working. We already are having too much fun, and that's why we're coming back to you, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Roster the People Week 3 bonus coverage, the late night edition, because we were having so much fun. We lost old McDonald had a Jordan, Mr. Jordan McDonald.
Well, we just lost
And we've
Mason,
also
too.
now lost Mason Cameron, who was sitting in, who was supposed to be sitting in. This is already going swimmingly.
This is
Jason.
beautiful. This
This is
is why we
exactly
don't
how.
do it.
This is exactly par for the course.
But to be fair, the game that's currently going on is what we thought it would be.
A disaster, a
Yeah.
sloppy disaster. There is a theme. There is a theme of that going on with both the game that is happening and this show. Both are sloppy disasters. But we've gained Mason Cameron twice now. Twice.
It's our brand. It's our brand.
It is. It is professionally unprofessional. Is the secret creed.
As chalked as it can be. That's our brand right there. Our personal touch.
Oh my God! It is roster the people week 3 bonus coverage.
With the only roster the person left. I'm just
the
saying.
only roster the person left at that FF nerd. Welcome back. We're back to taking your questions and walking you through the remainder of the games and our own little bit of like start sit kind of hot takery here, folks. So we're gonna pick it right back up. We left off Cincinnati Bengals at the New York Jets. Current line. Bengals -5, over under 45. Realistically, it's a pretty light injury report for the Bengals this week. You got Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst practiced in full today. I'm not worried about that. On the Jets side, you've got a few interesting ones. You've got Corey Davis picked up a knee injury, scoring that touchdown, and ruining all of my hard work rankings. Like you do,
because that's what he does.
Like you do. It's exactly what you do. Limited practice Thursday. We'll see if he can actually suit up and deal with it. I highly doubt you're really counting on Corey Davis. CJ Uzama, more or less the same thing. All that does is play with Tyler Conklin, and that kind of throws some cold water on that being a streaming option. But those are really the injuries for week 3. We do want to note that Zach Wilson set to return week 4. I never thought I'd be rooting for Joe Flacco to continue playing football, but he's propping up my Garris Wilson and my Breece Hall, I feel. If you can trade out of that at crazy inflated prices, maybe now's the time. But let's go around the horn. Does anybody have anything they want to cover Bengals related? Because I think you know what you're starting with the Bengals at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, Higgins, Chase, Mixon. Do you trust Burrow? I guess is the real question.
You probably just don't have better options. So I don't know. I don't know how.
Jared Goff.
I know. This was the other part of the show that I didn't prep you for, Mason, is that Jason's got Jared Goff at QB9 this week, we learned. So it's too much a plum.
Well, Vishal actually took Goff in his over underdogs tonight too at higher than 1.5 touchdowns.
Oh,
so it makes sense. He sees it as being a little bit of a shootout. So I mean, Jason's not wrong. And the sad thing is we were talking about this off air, but Jason will say something like that, and you'll be like, "What are you even talking about?" And then, but guess what? It's gonna happen. It's true. As sure as Monday is to come, it is going to happen. So if you are on the fence about Burrow, why not go target a guy like Goff? Because you really don't know. They can't be that far off from each other now because Burrow's been so sporadic. And
they actually are. If you go by ECR ratings for this week, they've still got Burrow at 7. Mostly, this is a function of the Bengals playing the Jets. This is, I think, the common view of this is that it's some sort of Burrow get right game because it's the Jets defense, and so if you can't make it work here, the issue I think is they can't really run the ball very effectively. It's been hurting Mixon. It's been hurting them in general. We'll see if they can actually get that. This would be a good week to fix it if you were gonna. So I think this is it's only 2 games, so I think it's going to take a while. Whereas Goff, we already covered it. He's all the way down at 18. He's down at QB2 streamer territory. Matchup play.
The hate is
that type
just
of thing.
ridiculous.
Well, it's the industry hate, Jason, clearly, but I know that's why you're here is to kind of shout that down. So we did that, but yeah, I agree. they've still got Burrow at 7. I'm not as bullish as on that, but my greater point is I just don't think you're realistically going to have better options. Unless you really want to roll the dice with a Jared Goff or a Carson Wentz or something like that. But I have to imagine you're probably
Okay, I'm going to say it because it's funny. Jared Goff right now, QB9 in fantasy.
I know you already said it earlier.
Just saying.
You already said it earlier.
No, actually
right, it is
QB9
funny.
and fantasy points
Oh, for the year.
on the year.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh, wow.
You're welcome.
Oh boy. All right.
When you have to throw for well, I guess that'd be 10 touchdowns. Yeah, when you throw 10 touchdowns, it's it's 30. They scored 35 in both weeks, right? So
they did, but we have to move on. We have to move on from that. So, but you pretty much know there's not too much discussion around the Bengals. They're all pretty much going to play. And then with the Jets, this is the much more interesting one because I don't really think anybody's going to go to the well with Flacco the streamer, right? Probably leave that off to the side. You've got 3 other streamers that you would rather have.
He's QB10 on the year.
Oh
I'm just saying.
Okay. Well,
How
that's
about that for
impossible. On the
Bengals?
year, that's impossible unless you're saying Zach Wilson is never playing again. But
No, currently, currently, right now.
currently.
Yes,
Okay.
on the year, this current year, he's
I see what you
QB10
mean.
in fantasy points.
That's fine. But it's like, do you really want to deal with him going up against the Bengals defense? You think he's going to get lucky twice?
You know,
I'd say there's probably better options. That's going to be my take on it.
Marcus
Mason, what do you
Mariota.
think? You
Jared
recommending Flacco for any kind of bets or anything? Was Flacco a popular pick for anybody on the?
No, nobody even has him on the radar.
I can't imagine anybody has the cojones for this.
No.
Just me.
Yeah, just
Good
Jason.
Lord,
Okay.
no.
Okay, yeah,
DFS.
that's where I'm at.
Maybe. Come on,
I'd have to
Mason.
ask
This would be
Aiden.
right.
I'd have to ask Aiden.
No,
I'd have to
I
ask
would say
Aiden.
no too. Still, this is the thing
Yeah.
too. Is when you look at this line, odds makers obviously see a Bengals bounce back, and they're equating the line to this. When you see that they're on the road and laying 5 points, that's 8 neutral site. So it only makes sense that they are expecting a comeback. And just like Neil said, if it isn't now, it's probably never. So this is going to be their real test to see if the Bengals of last year were who they really are, or if they're pretenders. And this is going to go a long way to tell us that for sure.
So beyond that, is anybody I think you kind of know it's really Garrett Wilson, right? But if you have Garrett Wilson coming off the 32, how are you not starting him?
You have to.
I'd have to know what your other options are. But
You need to be trading him after this week, though.
well, that's a separate conversation.
It's still the same thing. You need to get. Oh,
yeah, that's a separate. I would say especially if he puts up another huge number, probably a good idea because you don't know what Zach Wilson's going to do, and the concern is that could be bad, could be really bad. So you'd hope that he's made some improvements from last year, but you also might go back to targeting Elijah Moore. We don't know. So there's a lot of unknowns with that whole conversation. So yeah, if he has another week and somebody's a believer and they want to give you something shiny, I'd consider it. And then same thing with Breece Hall, to be honest. Breece Hall coming off back-to-back double-digit games, you would think that it would be something that you'd be more trying to invest in. The problem is that the first game he had 10 targets and in the second game he had 1.
well, I don't think either of the running backs had a whole lot of targets in the second game.
Yeah, they didn't because they were too busy targeting Garrett Wilson 14 times.
Correct.
So that's the other issue. But it's going to be unnerving with that because he's still sharing that job with Michael Carter. Is there any optimism around the Jets, or is it just start Garrett Wilson this week, and maybe if I was desperate, start Breece Hall as a flex? That's it.
I mean, I just that backfield is still so confusing because Carter still had more snaps than Hall did.
Yeah,
which not super surprising, but it's kind of is.
Well, it's still reality. I think at some point Hall will flip that.
I think I had that going into week 8 is when that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not for this week. So,
I mean, but are we so sure? I mean, from where Saleh comes from, it makes sense that he'd be completely comfortable going running back by committee for the rest of his life.
Oh, I still think it will be running back by committee. It's just who gets the A share and who gets the B share. And right now, Carter's still getting the A share. But
I think it sounds like to me that this Jets backfield is shaping up to be like those, headache Niners backfields. And even if you have one or both of these pieces, you're probably going to guess wrong more often than not.
It's true. All right. Well, I think we've kind of covered it there. It's start Garrett Wilson for sure. Smash that in. Jason's going to recommend Joe Flacco as a streamer for you. No one else is that
DFS.
yeah, no one else is this brave. And
We
with
are
that,
live, Jason.
I'm just going with the numbers. I don't know what else to tell
recorded.
you.
oh yeah, no, it's recorded.
People can see this. People will be able to see you say.
The problem
things.
is that
and
when
every Monday or Tuesday, I put out how I did and how I didn't do.
And that's the nice thing too, is he does do that, but also it's funny because when you have an opinion on everything, it's like a numbers game. So you get so many hacks at the cage that on aggregate,
it looks good.
Like it works really well. It's pretty cool. It's a cool life hack.
Hey,
like,
we better do the same thing, Jason. So I get it.
It is like hedging your bets. But we've got to move on.
Big brain moves here.
We're going to Jacksonville. Nobody wants to, but we're doing it.
They told me this was going to go quickly. By the way, they told me this was going to go quickly. Also,
I know, and we've already derailed 3 times, and so it's Jacksonville at Chargers. I'm intentionally being up 2, so I know Jason is very excited for this game. Chargers -7 at home, over under 47.5. You're going to have the whole Jacksonville Jaguar team out there. Nobody of note on the injury report. Steve chiming in with Joe Flacco over Zach Wilson.
He gets it.
Steve gets it. For the season, I'm sure. And for the Chargers, the big stories really are Justin Herbert with the rib. He appears to be practicing. Seems
some nice throws.
Seems okay. We'll see how that holds up throughout the year. And Keenan Allen with the hamstring. So that's still kind of a wait and see thing. I would still have a backup plan for Keenan Allen in case it flares up, but loosely trending towards him playing.
The more important part of this, though, last person on that list on the report.
Well, you can deliver the news, Jason. Deliver the news. You drop the bomb.
Donald Parham is actually doing limited practices. The reason that's important is because Everett has been seeing a lot of the target share, and with Parham back, I do think that ends up being an issue.
Okay.
I think they end up splitting it, and it becomes less of a flex option or a tight end streamer that you're looking at.
Jason, why?
Because Parham's good. They like Parham.
This is how this show goes.
But why would you take any of the target share in that tight end room or anything that they dedicate to the middle of the field there and give it to anybody else?
Besides Allen? I don't agree with that. But for the tight end, yeah, it's going to be split.
Or no, for Everett. Like, why?
I'm just letting you know that's how it's going to go. They love Parham. It's not even in my mind that it's another option. Everett is going to be splitting with Parham the rest of the season once he's back healthy.
But my question is, how many targets can one offense dedicate to an absolutely nonsensical position like the tight end? When they have guys like Mike Williams,
I don't know that Jason's saying that there's going to be a change in the number of targets to the tight end.
Oh yeah,
it's just that he thinks
still
that
going to be
Gerald
the same,
Everett is going to be splitting the job with Donald Parham,
which is an issue for fantasy because Parham's been Everett's been just dominating.
Just there you go. Yeah, that is the conventional wisdom, Jason, for most people, is that Gerald Everett is kind of working his way into almost must start tight end rotation for fantasy circles. So we'll see.
And that's why I'm worried.
We'll see. Okay. Well, we'll see how that shakes out. But as the rest of
the tight end though, Njoku, 8 for 81 and a touchdown already.
I know. I already was lamenting I love being wrong right off the start. Right off the top of the show, already wrong. It's chef kiss. But on the Jacksonville side of the ball, I think the big story is really James Robinson. Just coming out of that week 1 game where the coaching staff was even commenting when asked the question, what was your big takeaway, was how much James Robinson, how important he is to our team. And then they came back next week and gave him 15 carries and made sure he scored and gave him a couple targets.
He's dominated snaps.
Yeah. But it's more just a comment on, it's an amazing story because of the Achilles. And also we'll see if he can hold up throughout a full season. But if you're rostering James Robinson at this point, probably borderline must start territory, because you'd probably find a home for him as a flex, depending on how the rest of your team works out.
Yeah, unless it's just an absolutely horrible matchup.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty loaded. And this is not a horrible matchup, because as we covered on the website, actually, we had a lively Discord debate about this. Chargers defense actually just NFL average right now. That's what it is. Like,
JC Jackson's going to get around to it. We'll be okay.
yeah, but their run
It's
defense
gonna
hasn't been that good. So if you've got James Robinson, you might want to consider him for this game.
Definitely.
And Trevor Lawrence also looking miles better than he did last year. He's kind of emerging back onto the streaming radar to the point where you can kind of feel okay about it. Their weapons aren't amazing, and Nerd Man, I'll give you one here. Christian Kirk out punching everybody's expectations to this point. So
What?
that's except for you.
Except for Jason, who fully
Except for you,
expected
who
this.
totally. Well, you were on the chat with us when he did it. Like, so
Yes,
it's
I
like
don't
we
know
were
why
in-
this is a surprise to anybody.
I don't know. I think you're a witch, is what I think is actually going on. And I was tipped off to it by, yeah. And that is the question. Do you trust Travis Etienne? And I think it's tough to trust Etienne at this point. But you drafted him in such a way that I don't know that you have other options. So it's kind of a
Yeah, and
kind
in
of a
this
tough one.
matchup, it should be okay. It's not super, but you could probably flex him.
I think that is the perfect question because it is like two backs on a team that
Are both
we're
good.
going to question. They're going to be bad on defense all year. So they're probably going to be in holes. How many opportunities are they really going to get to split a huge workload between two backs? And if we're talking about Robinson being a must start, somebody has to be the odd one out. And eventually in the season, Etienne managers are going to have to ask themselves, when do I cut bait? And this is that like investment, like, what I forget the word, but just like not getting too tied up in what you invest in and cutting
Liquid.
bait when you can.
You're thinking of the word liquid.
Just you need to be able to move on from this when you can. And it might be better to move on earlier than it is later.
Sometimes it is, because if it does go sideways, you can minimize your loss and treat it like a fluid asset and flip it for something else while people still believe. Whereas if Robinson has 3 or 4 more games, the pace he's been on, it's going to be a lot tougher to try.
The writing's on the
convince
wall.
Yeah. So that's the big takeaway, I think, is the Jacksonville RB room is not necessarily how everyone had it projected going. And I said that very deliberately, Jason.
Because you know I'm right.
The wind is changing directions. I'll say that much. And with that and Christian Kirk also, I didn't expect them to be as efficient as they've been because frankly they were so bad last year. But you're looking. Let's move into a much more, let's say, televised game.
I think that's generous.
Packers Bucks. -1.5 for the Bucks. This is on paper probably your game of the week if it wasn't for all the names I have to read in a moment. Over under total of 42. And now we have to go through this laundry list.
The JV, the two JV squads taking up.
Yes, this is definitely not
with great quarterbacks.
Yeah, great quarterbacks playing, but
Hall of Fame.
For the Packers, no left tackle David Bakhtiari on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. That matters for what that offense is trying to do and what they're going to be asked to do if they're going to do anything. Randall Cobb missed Wednesday, back Thursday with an illness. There's decent chance he plays. More concerning if it matters, Sammy Watkins not practicing Thursday with a hamstring injury. That hasn't plagued him his whole career or anything. Alan Lazard not at practice Wednesday and Thursday with an ankle injury. Also a problem because that's also been dogging him for a number of years. And Christian Watson, right, even the beginning of this year. And Christian Watson misses practice Thursday with a hamstring. I have a question for you gentlemen, and it's not related to wide receivers. Aaron Jones, 40 targets?
I mean, who else is going to catch the ball? I mean,
I'm only exaggerating a little bit.
I mean, Tunyon still there?
Tunyon's still there.
They're going down to 7-11 to get wide receivers right now. Like, that's what they're going to do. Hey, you want to go run routes for Rodgers? Because, like, who are they supposed to throw the rock to?
Well, didn't Steve bring this up that OBJ was an option here?
Potentially, if they were going to do it by Sunday, which I doubt, and he wouldn't know the playbook.
Not this year.
So this show's geared for week 3, keep in mind. But I think the greater takeaway is it's Packers RBs to the moon for this matchup, and everything else is a giant question mark. Is there anything except for the RBs and maybe Aaron Rodgers that anyone's interested in?
I'm not even touching Rodgers.
My question is, as good as AJ Dillon has looked, and I know that Jones looked amazing last week. How do I phrase this? How many how many Aaron Jones outings do we know? Like the Aaron Jones that just doesn't show up and just falls flat when you needed him.
Oh,
How
yeah.
many of those does it take this year until we see AJ Dillon in the full control of this backfield? Because I think it feels a little sooner rather than later for me.
I would normally maybe agree with you on that, except if none of their wide receivers can play, then none of this matters.
Yeah,
because they'll both be so heavily involved because there's nothing left that the question becomes immaterial. But that's only if they can't. But they have to. At some point, they're gonna have to find some way to throw the ball down the field. So that's going to become the problem here at some point. They might even get exposed this week because the Buccaneers defense is actually healthy for a change. So it could get interesting. But it sounds like the answer to the question is nobody's really interested in anything other than the two running backs in Green Bay. So we'll move to Tampa.
Same thing.
Right. The NFL has upheld Mike Evans' 1-game suspension. So, of course, he's not playing this game. That's not happening.
Yeah, that they would actually use him.
For those who are trying to start the Bucs defense, which is a thing, Akeem Hicks tore his plantar fascia. He's going to be gone for at least a month with a very painful injury, so hopefully he can recover from that. Cole Beasley signed to the practice squad, immediately muffed his punt, first day there. And then now for the fun bits. Oh, Mike, you always know how to counter my arguments. I love it. Also on the injury report, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, both not practicing Wednesday and Thursday. So the question becomes, is there anyone on Tampa that you're really excited about? Is it Russell Gage to the moon? Russell Gage is going to be dealing with the one coverage
Perriman
for this game. Perriman? Is there anyone?
I'm extremely excited about the under in this one, and that's about it.
I liked where your head's at. Where your head's at.
You can make money in a multitude of places. This fantasy is not one with this game. Go bet the under and just
whoa, no. You do that and you get bet on the running backs to go whatever their over is.
There you go. Those
I got you covered, Mason.
Yeah, right to the bank with those ones.
Yeah, that's a good one.
See, you thought this was roster of the people. This is actually locked in.
That happens. That does happen.
Just at Cameron's house.
Rams, Cardinals, huge game. -3.5 Rams. Over under 3.5. Vegas scared. Vegas scared. They don't want it. They don't want this. They don't want any part of it. Rams are dealing with a smattering of injuries, but frankly, it's not to the key players. The closest thing to a real fantasy contributor would be Van Jefferson, who hasn't been playing all season anyway. So you should have your full complement of Rams. Cardinals is a little bit more intriguing. James Conner, you may note, left that game last Sunday with an injury, missed the end of the game, but limited Wednesday, limited again Thursday. He's on track to play. Rondale Moore, not so much. So if you're still waiting for Rondale Moore, you're going to be waiting a little bit longer. Dortch, of course. Dortch, of course. I love Tyler Higbee season. This is
not right.
This is the wheelhouse right here. Is there anything that anybody? I mean, we could talk about Cam Akers bouncing back a little bit, or people feel like no. Does Jack need to be here to have that conversation?
I mean, that's just it. I'm still on the Henderson trade because I thought he was going to be the lead running back. So I'm completely fine rolling with him.
The zero RB, like Messiah,
you bet
Daryl Henderson.
The guy that I have drafted in every league because I'm like, oh, it's the 8th round. Yeah, I'm going to take him.
Just as a case study into the zero running back mindset, I was full zero running back last year, and it did not end up well in most leagues. And I went full tilt the other direction, went all backs. I got a bunch of good backs this year. Boys, all backs is the way to go. Stop with this zero running back nonsense. Take it.
I agree. Legacy fantasy football is the way. You get solid RBs and you get wide receiver 2s to wallpaper around it.
I am a reformed zero running back truther.
It's an anchor RB. That's how that works.
Okay,
Anchor
that's true.
RB.
You get an anchor RB. No, I know this. You get an anchor RB and then like a Kareem Hunt and you hope you hit it.
Henderson.
And as Steve has pointed, Steve's old strategy from years ago was RB2 was the most overrated position in all of fantasy football, and I saw him make some hay with that over the years. It's a legitimate strategy.
It's like catching a falling knife.
Yeah. But as far as the Rams go, I think we kind of know what's going on. I mean, if you're expecting a touchdown from Allen Robinson every week, maybe adjust your expectations. Steve pointed out Tyler Higbee season. He's a little bit more. He's a little bit more involved than other folks. That
the 8 targets helps a week.
Right. So that's kind of the big takeaway is 8 targets a week. Jason, is there anybody besides Higbee that we've already discussed and maybe downplaying Robinson a little bit? Obviously, you're going to start Cooper Kupp. Anybody else that you're interested in? Maybe not so much Matthew Stafford. Maybe
I'm still good running out Henderson. I mean,
okay.
But I still think he has that backfield. That's the reason. And I could actually see there being, I'm going to say garbage time in this game, that Akers get some use. So if you want to flex him, maybe, but.
Okay. Cardinals, I think the main topic is, are we nervous about Kyler Murray?
Yes. Modern Warfare 2 beta came out on PC today. Like, fade Murray, all the chances you can get. I can't even bang the table enough. He was asleep for 3 quarters last game. Someone said, Kyler, get off the phone. And he put down the phone, and then he balled. Like, I frankly can't trust this offense for anything. And I'm not going to. Now, until they get rid of King Grifter over there, Cliff Kingsbury, I'm good not touching anybody over there. I'm going to sit all the shares of the cards that I have. I know a lot of people invested, probably early in Kyler Murray when they picked. They probably took him in a lot of your draft fairly early.
Or
so you kind of have to stick with him there. And I guess maybe his rushing floor is going to help you, but frankly, until they prove otherwise, I'm not touching the rest of that team with a 10-foot pole.
Okay. I can see why you're right to be concerned. Jason, do you have anything? Are you nervous about any of the Cardinals? Do you want to pound the table for any of the Cardinals?
Zach Ertz.
Okay. That's a popular one, actually.
That's the only one I'm really comfortable going with.
No, I'm just more amazed it's a chalk one. It's actually chalk. Like, it's chalk. Because yes, I agree with you.
If I thought that he would have a shot at actually throwing it to Brown, I would go with that. But it just doesn't seem to be the case. And then Connor has been hurt. I mean,
yeah, that's
so it's going to be that with Daryl and Eno in the backfield. But
you drafted James Conner too early to not play him. That's why I don't want to spend too much time with the running backs. You're playing James Conner more than likely. You probably don't have better options. If you could trade him, that'd be fabulous. But you got to believe you got to hope that there's better days ahead for that offense, i.e., when Nuke gets back. And then we see it. And then we see
you're hoping he's just going to get all the targets that Ertz was having.
Yeah, it's all hope. So, all right, very polar opposite game we move to now with the Atlanta Falcons on the road at the Seattle Seahawks. Vegas also doesn't want any part of this game. The over under is at -2 Seahawks. Or sorry, the line is -2 Seahawks over under 42. This has just got bad ideas written all over it. Falcons, you're going to have all your main Falcons. Seahawks, most of their injuries are related to the defense, which you were not going to be playing anyway. So you're going to have your complement of players such as they matter. My question is, who matters and how much do you trust anyone on either of these two teams, with the exception of maybe Cordarrelle Patterson or Marcus Mariota as some sort of like streaming QB option if that was what floated your boat?
You don't love the rookie Drake London just continuing to scorch people?
Okay, fair enough. But I assume if you've got Drake London, you were probably starting Drake London to begin with.
Well, same question then. Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts is a different story. There's reasons
First
to be
2 weeks
concerned.
have been rough.
Yeah, there's some reasons to be concerned about Kyle Pitts.
This just reinforces that your league shouldn't have tight end positions and you shouldn't have kickers either.
I agree with all this. I co-signed both of those statements.
Can you play the promo for the
the
merch?
I got it. Yeah. We also sell those. We also sell those items in the merch
Abolish
store,
the tight end. Get it at shop.importantnonsense.com. Get your t-shirt today.
I appreciate all of the plugs, gentlemen. But yes, get your Abolish the Tight End t-shirt today. But is there any, Jason, you're usually good for, these are usually your games where it's off the beaten path teams, let's say. Is there anybody that you kind of want to pound the table for this week, or any kind of any players of interest, hot pickups, anything like that?
No, I mean, I hate how I've kind of been. The Seahawks haven't had anybody that's really stood out. I mean, Lockett and DK have just been. I mean,
I'd be trying to trade Tyler Lockett, but I'm always trying to trade Tyler Lockett, so much so that I don't roster Tyler Lockett in any league. So.
But if you're going to, I think you wait this week, because I think this would be another good week for him.
Possibly.
I think that's the only thing. I mean, you hope this is another big week and you get rid of him. Yeah. Higbee,
there
of
you
course, is
go.
going to be starting.
There you go. This sums it up
See,
nicely.
Steve didn't get the message. Steve, we've abolished the tight end here. Boom. We don't need
He's
that anymore.
on that bandwagon. I'm
is
the
on
only
that
one over
bandwagon.
here saying anything about tight ends.
But
Per
yeah,
usual.
you're starting your normal compliment, and I will say, yeah, you just gotta hope better days are ahead for DK Metcalf. But
Kyle Pitts.
And Kyle Pitts. It's a nerve-wracking kind of thing. But if you've got Drake London, hey, you're probably pretty happy right about now.
You're kind of hoping that something hits before the trade deadline, honestly, if you're going to get any value out of DK.
Yeah, that's
frankly,
that.
Because it's not going to be in a Seahawks jersey.
Yeah, right. And I don't know that they would let him go. And I don't know that they would let him go because they're intentionally trying to tank to get to the top of the draft in order to get DK's quarterback of the future because it's not Drew Lock. And what a fun story Geno Smith is, but it's not Geno Smith either. Let's move off that game and let's go to Mason. We got to talk about it. It's another good one. 49ers. 49ers at Broncos. The Fighting Nathaniel Hackett's. The line is -1.5. Niners over under 45, and I think that's very polite.
That's very polite. That was the meanest thing I have ever heard. Neil, you live in this city. I will find you.
Dude, I live 10 minutes from you. You don't need to find me that hard. I could just walk out there. Like you live down the street. But yeah, it's mostly because I'm not happy with the play calling of said Nathaniel Hackett so far. But the cutest thing was when the fans were counting down the play clock on 3 separate occasions during that game, and it was loud enough that you heard it on TV. That was a good look. It's not all doom and gloom. People are overreacting to it a little bit. They've had 2 games together, but it is kind of ugly when you only score 16 points against the Texans.
There's
you
some
mean
things,
my defensive streamer? Yeah. That...
This is the thing. This is the thing that I hate to be the fire dude after 2 games type person, and I'm not that type of person, but alarm bells are ringing incredibly loudly in Denver, and they should be because there are some things from a game sense standpoint that you should know before you're getting the headset to be a head coach.
You should know how to call a play. And
some of the things that have fallen short with this Denver team early on in the season are coaching issues, are guys that are not coached up to the degree that they should be. Now, to say all is lost is wrong. No. Yeah, it's not.
They'll work out.
They have so much talent on the team, but this is kind of a theme that we've been talking about. When you put your money behind somebody, you're sitting here looking at a team that just lost their starting quarterback in San Fran. You're looking at Denver being at home, and this line is 1.5. Mm-hmm. That shows you that odd makers aren't scared of this team. And when you look at it, a lot of the time, odd makers will prop up a line because of the roster. You see it all the time. A team gets a clean 3.5 just because they're a better team on paper. We took advantage of one of those lines last week with, Miami and Baltimore on the show, and you turn around and it ends up hitting. These guys are not afraid of Denver, or at least odd makers aren't, and that's why this line is 1.5. And a lot of that comes down to the coaching is bringing down the way people view this whole roster. So any of these high-end pieces that you took for your fantasy team, you have to question if you're going to go there. At least I would be.
Oh, absolutely. The one that I'm most confident still is Cortland Sutton. Because Sutton, I feel like, is going to get his no matter what here.
And Williams.
And what was that? And Williams?
Javonte.
Yeah, and Javonte. And those are the 2 key pieces. Melvin Gordon was always kind of he's a flex level running back. You know what I mean? He's like 1B. He's going to get 45% of the snaps, and he still does largely get between 40 and 45. It's just Javonte's making the most of his opportunities right now. And so is Cortland Sutton. But I'd be I'm a little nervous about Jerry Jeudy because most of his production is literally wrapped up in one broken coverage play that he ran in. Granted, small sample size, 2 games, but a little nervous that he doesn't turn into Tyler Lockett. And then we run into the fact that they can't pick a tight end. They're just peppering it to 4 different tight ends, and so it's completely different than what we thought. Alberto is a lot less attractive to me if that's how they're going to spread up the tight end distribution. And then that's with Greg Dulcich on IR. So that shows you how confused this play calling is. They're splitting the job of tight end to 4 people. They've got 2 running backs that I would argue is a good idea because you want to keep Javonte healthy. But they've got no wide receiver 3. KJ Hamler logs limited practice on Wednesday and Thursday. It doesn't matter. Like they're not throwing it to the field stretcher at all. And that because all the deep stuff just goes to Cortland Sutton anyway. And by the way, if I was Russell Wilson, I'd probably do that too. He's pretty good at high pointing the football. It's kind of the benefit of being Cortland Sutton. So, Mason, I love your subterfuge in the offseason about, no, Sutton's shoulder. He can't go up and get it right now. I was at camp. Yeah, that's Mason. In all of our auctions we did all offseason, that was Mason. And I'm like, get out of here. Like,
I got him for a mint in our Dynasty League.
You did. And I'm mad because I have him in like all the other leagues I play in. And he'll be fine. But you got to be wondering about everything else. And if I'm looking at Russell Wilson with the way quarterback works, I can find another option. I can find a better option than that. I'm not interested in that. If I'm not interested in the 12 or whatever that was like last week.
Negative. I am getting negative Russell Wilson points in Scott Fishbowl scoring leagues.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah. That's another one too. If you're playing in Scott Fishbowl scoring, you
have to.
You especially got to get out of that. That can't happen. But so yeah, Denver Broncos clearly a work in progress. We'll see if they can. I mean, this is a home game, Mason. They got to win this. You lose this to Jimmy Garoppolo. Ooh, that's going to go bad in the media.
This is the thing. Get ugly. This is the thing. I've said this about this Niners team before. Anytime they play Denver, it is more than just an interconference game. Kyle Shanahan called Denver home for years. He came to this building. John Elway gave him a bad faith interview, and he walked out the door, took another team, and said, I'm going to beat the out of the Broncos every time I play them. And good for Kyle.
He does. He has a long history of doing that.
Single time.
The only thing you can hang your hat on is, to a certain extent, is at least it's Jimmy Garoppolo. But the problem is the 49ers actually look better when Jimmy Garoppolo came in the game in favor of Trey Lance because Jimmy Garoppolo actually looks healthy. And he knows the offense. They're not running a different offense, really. He knows that offense. It's why I'm more bullish on Brandon Ayuk with the complete decimation of the 49ers running game. And now Jimmy Garoppolo coming in.
You keep saying it, man.
I think
Debo is the running game.
Debo's going to be the running. Well, I mean, at the running back position. So Debo is fine because Debo will just play running back. So Debo, I'm not worried about either. That's fine. I'm worried about anything like Jeff Wilson. I don't want. So it's Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo to me, not this week against the Broncos on the road. Not super concerned. I'm a little concerned he might turn the ball over a couple times. But if he's actually healthy, could matter as a streamer at some point. So he's kind of interesting in and of himself. But to your point, Mason, they typically, the 49ers always play the Broncos super hard. And this is a big one because they're going to want to try and get Jimmy Garoppolo right. And it's looking more and more like you're going to have George Kittle back. Practiced Wednesday, practiced Thursday, said he was close to going last week. So if Kittle's playing, Auto must start, right, Jason? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, I've
right back in
because of the fact that Garoppolo's back. Yes,
you're not worried about him being you're not worried about him being on like a pitch count or something.
Even if he is, I mean, I think he's going to see enough targets that he'll be fine because Debo's going to be coming out of the backfield, so he's going to have to be on the field to at least block.
Okay,
so
Auto must start there. I think we're all talking about nice things about Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel. Mason hates this conversation because it means that the Broncos defense is going to get housed and they're probably going to lose.
Well, house is it's a 45 over under.
Yeah,
it's not really a house. I mean,
that's true. But the other part of it is I think it's your big guys. Probably wait a week on Garoppolo is the consensus. You're starting Debo, you're starting Brandon Ayuk, you're starting Kittle. I personally would avoid all the running backs. If somebody has somebody they want to pound the table for at running back for the 49ers, you go right ahead.
Neil, you want to know what I think of this game?
What's that?
And that's the last one for me tonight, boys.
Yep.
Because I'm not going to be watching the Monday game anyway. So I will let these two gentlemen break it down.
We'll take it home. Mason. Thank you for sitting in long with us. It's a pleasure as always.
Everybody come in, check us out tomorrow. Locked in. Me and Vishal going through all the bets of the games. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys have a good time. I'll catch you later.
Make some money with Mason tomorrow, folks. He was like 85% against the spread last year. So if you're looking for picks, look no further. Take it easy, Mason. All right, Jason. Let's talk about Monday Night Football, and then we can
Another
all
great
go to bed.
primetime game.
Another great primetime game after Sunday Night Football. Cowboys at Giants. I don't know what they were thinking with this, but Giants open at -2, over under 39. Not looking forward to any of this. As far as injuries go, for the Cowboys, it's Dalton Schultz. I really would be surprised if Dalton Schultz plays. How about you, Jason? Do you think he's going to get out there? Because he didn't play at all Thursday or practice at all.
I mean, just because it's Monday, this would technically be the Wednesday practice. It was Sunday.
That's fair, but I don't get the impression he's going to play.
Yeah.
That one scares me. I'd make other arrangements, certainly.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely need another option, and you don't want the other option to be playing Monday.
No, you don't. You definitely don't. So I would probably move on from that. And then, speaking of another thing that I have a similar feelings about, Michael Gallup poised to make his return from an ACL injury, logged a full practice on Thursday. Michael Gallup should be back, and frankly, they need all the help they could get, especially if you're not going to trust my man Jalen Tolbert and you're going to run out the scrubs. I think Michael
Brown.
I think Michael Gallup might actually hurt Noah Brown a little bit.
100%, yes.
Yeah, so that's part of the issue there. I don't know if it'll kill him, but I saw a lot of people plunking down $20+ on the waiver wires.
For Brown,
average bid for Brown. A lot of very high average bids for Brown. He was a very trendy pickup across the industry. I'm a little nervous about that with Michael Gallup, but we'll see if it pans out. But is there anything? Well, your boyfriend Pat Fryermuth just caught like a 20-yard bomb.
Thank God for a touchdown, hopefully.
No, but hopefully he can do that because they're starting to go hurry up. The Browns.
I need. Oh my gosh, it's almost over.
The Browns have been asserting their will on them. Yeah. So this is the last game anyway. So we'll make it quick and get everybody out of here now. But as far as the Cowboys go, I mean, are you going to play Michael Gallup?
No,
I'm waiting
to play
week.
Zeke.
Okay.
Finally, you can play Zeke and be comfortable about it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm waiting a week on Gallup because I don't want to deal with it on Monday night in case he has a flare-up or something. And also, I have no idea what that's going to look like. I'll agree with you on that. What's that?
Lamb,
I think you have to play because you're so heavily invested in it. Yeah, I don't think you really have a choice on Lamb. You're definitely going to have to roster him and start him. And the one thing is, if Schultz was out, maybe Gallup gets some additional targets. So if you had to play him, you can hang your hat on that. Or if you have injuries or something. But yeah, this is the other thing. Gallup will be on a pitch count if he plays. So that's part of my other concern there too. So probably want to avoid that. But Zeke, I'm with you on that. I think going to the well on Zeke for this week is a good one. And then probably you might even be able to play Zeke and Pollard because they're gonna have to run the ball. It's gonna have to happen. So I think they're going to make an effort. I think they're going to make it a point, actually, to get the run game going to try and take some of the pressure off Cooper Rush and, everything else. Plus, it's the Giants defense, Jason. You scared of the Giants defense? I'm not scared of the Giants defense.
No, I mean, they play okay, though.
Yeah.
It could be worse.
Yeah. It could be. But then as it relates to that we pretty much know. You pretty much know what you're doing. You're not going to recommend Cooper Rush as a streamer or anything, are you?
No. Not that one.
I'm not going to do that either.
Mostly because I'm really high on Zeke.
Right.
I mean, I have him in the top 10, so it's like you're
okay.
Going to be hitting
Fair enough. I don't have him quite that high, but I do agree with the general idea that this would be a good week to do it. So as far as the Giants goes, my God, like the list is as long as your arm. They're already completely eviscerated with injuries, and most of them, by the way, are on defense. Which is why I was referencing what I was saying a moment ago. I'm not scared of their defense because they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defensive players. Not all of them exactly starters, but players that we're going to see the field, all of them on the injury report. So you don't want to try and get cute with the Giants defense this week if you were thinking about a late night Monday night streamer sandwich or something. No. They weren't that good anyway, and now they're already hurt. Wan'Dale Robinson, unfortunately, is probably not going to play again. Shame.
Because Sterling Shepard is the only guy on the Giants that you want to play besides Barkley.
And that also includes Kadarius Toney because Kadarius Toney did not practice Wednesday, hasn't been being limited Thursday, but has not been being used. And I'm not even going to spend the time going through the speculations on does he know the playbook? Does he not know the playbook? It doesn't matter. The coaching staff clearly doesn't trust him. So if you want to roster him, I don't care. But he should not be in your starting lineup, and it shouldn't matter for at least several more weeks.
How about Kenny Galladay? Do you think you should roster Kenny Galladay?
Absolutely not. I think the only Giants wide receiver that you should roster, Jason, is Sterling Shepard. I think that's it. I think Sterling Shepard is the one that actually has a job that matters. And then the only other Giant that I care about is Saquon. And if I was utterly desperate, maybe I could stream Daniel Jones at some point. But the minute Saquon isn't on that field, Daniel Jones is like outside the top 25 quarterback. He's like bottom 5.
And then Sterling Shepard is magically in the top 20 of wide receivers.
Because Sterling Shepard, when he's healthy, is actually a pro NFL player. That's the thing about Sterling Shepard. He's a professional wide receiver when he's healthy.
And he's very good at the slot. Like he's uber talented.
Very good at the slot. Like that's why he's a professional level player. Like, and that's why I think Jones looks for him, because he's very good at running the routes very precisely.
Yeah,
like he runs those routes.
He's gonna be
like
ready for it. He's gonna be open.
Yeah, he runs those routes exactly how they're in the book. Like, and it's like, oh, okay. So that's the but beyond that, there's nothing else that I'm interested in on the Giants. It's like Sterling Shepard and Saquon.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like,
that's where we're at. I don't know.
It's not. It's not good. Jason, let's whip through your start sits real quick here. I know for QB, I know you want to talk about. We already talked about it during the breakdown, but real quick on Marcus Mariota, I know you want to pound the table for Mariota.
Yeah, I love him against Seattle. The team gave up 17.8 fantasy points to Russell Wilson, who looked absolutely like hot trash. And the fact that Marcus Mariota runs is a big benefit. And then again, last week, 19.1 fantasy points to Jimmy G and Trey Lance. I mean, It's very basic. He has good options. I'm hoping for Pitts and London to both have good games, and it's just a setup for a beautiful day for him.
All right. I could actually see it, by the way. I could actually see it. That defense is bad enough that Mariota with the rushing floor, and even with kind of them not really clicking as an offense all the way, they could move the ball. So I could definitely see that. I know also at quarterback, you're recommending sitting Tom Brady versus Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
Not to bury the lead, but
yeah. And for good reason. I mean, this is an ugly game. He has no weapons. I don't want to trust Perriman, or I mean, if you want to flex him or DFS, fine, but it's going to be a lot of. Here you go.
Yeah, I think it's the Leonard Fournette experience. So I've got Leonard Fournette also significantly higher in my rankings than normal, and Tom Brady significantly lower. I'm with you. I don't know if you probably have better options, because Tom Brady wasn't, like the far and away draft pick. So this is a good week if you have Tom Brady to maybe kick the tires on whatever your backup quarterback is on your team. Maybe it's Derek Carr. That would be an interesting one. He would normally be behind Brady, but I've got him above this week. And then if you're Jason, go pick up Jared Goff.
Yeah, or the guy I suggested to start.
Or Marcus Mariota. Yeah.
Thank you.
You should have written down Jared Goff. It was even spicier. It was I
thought about it, but I was like, I have Mariota 2 spots higher, so it's like I have to go with him. Yeah.
Running back. I'm just going to let you say it, because you've already said it like 3 times on this show. So who are we starting at running back?
Daryl Henderson versus Arizona, who gave up 22.4 fantasy points to CEH. Granted, it was with 2 touchdowns, but still, the fact that he's going to be used, this game is perfectly set up for him. And Josh Jacobs, who isn't a full-time back, put up 9.1 fantasy points. He also he caught 1 ball. So that's it. Like, yeah. I expect Henderson to be a lot more efficient, and this offense is good. I mean, I hate to say it for Jacobs, but that they're very confused about what they're doing over there with their clearly running back room. And so I think Henderson is really set up for a nice week this week.
And and that's all fine. My one concern with that
is they get up in Akers.
Yes, is that they put Akers back out there, because they did it last week and things went okay. So if Akers continues to work his way out of the doghouse here, Henderson is not nearly as attractive. He's looking a lot like Jamal Williams. If that's where we're going to get to pretty quick with Daryl Henderson. So that's my concern. To be honest with you, if I'm rostering Daryl Henderson, I'm praying that he blows up this week against the Cardinals, so I can try and trade him for something that's like a little more stable on my side. That's what I want to do. I want to buy low and try and sell high here. So that's my 2 cents on the matter. But we don't have to go too far for the sit. So take it away, Jason.
Other side of the ball, we're going to James Conner. I mean, the Rams defense is just a beast. I mean, I'm worried about Murray. If it's going to be running, Connor's already dealing with injury. We already think that he's going to be splitting with Daryl and Eno, like I said earlier. And the Rams have given up 8.2 points to Singletary. Granted, that was a game that they were getting blown out, and Singletary still touched the ball the most and only put up 8.2 fantasy points. And then last week against the Falcons, Cordell Patterson, the lead running back for the team, 4.1 fantasy points. Like, and that's just bananas to me. So I'm not willing to risk it with Connor. You're really just hoping he falls in the end zone and saves your fantasy day if you're playing him.
That's probably fair. What scares me about Connor a little bit this week is the fact that he had to leave that game in the fourth quarter. I know that he's been limited in practice and he's probably going to play, but I don't know if they're going to have him on a pitch count, and it's a bad matchup to begin with. So bad matchup plus pitch count, don't really super like it. So might find other options for sure. But yeah, that's probably the biggest, because it's probably the most notable running back that would be taking a downgrade this week. He'd be the highest up
But
in the usual.
in the ECR, he was in the top 24. That's the whole reason I'm bringing this up.
Well, he probably still will get rated as an RB2. So it's like, because I get it, because you're going to go look at the normal options where it's like running back, by the time you get to 24, already starts to get ugly. Like, for example, a lot of outlets have Jeff Wilson at 25. So you want Jeff Wilson, or do you want half of James Conner? These are my choices.
I know. I mean,
see what I'm saying? Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get how we get there. It makes sense to me to a certain extent. I'm not saying I feel great about it. And I'm saying if I had some other options, I maybe would kick the tires on him, because what I would hate to see happen is you play James Conner, and I'm actually facing this decision in one league, where you play James Conner and then he's done like halfway through the second quarter and he had a 4. And it's like that's not what you invested in James Conner for. So I could see how that one would make you nervous. God. All right. We already did this. This derailed the show and made us late.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, do it again.
It's
Derail
Jahan
the show a
Dotson.
second time.
I mean, we've talked about it through so much, but Jahan Dotson is my favorite play this week. He has the best matchup, and they're going to have to throw. It's just, this game is going to be a very high over-under, and I think they're going to go over. I mean, it was 54.5 or 54. Even then, it's going to be massive, and he's going to be the guy that you want, because Bradbury, like I said, will be on Samuel more than likely, and then Slay is going to be covering McLaurin, who he always struggles against.
47.
So 47?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 47.
Oh, easily over.
Yeah.
I'm definitely taking the over. I'm going to guess it's closer to 65, 70. So
30, like 35, 32 or something.
Yeah.
Like that is what you want to go with. I can see it. It depends.
So
it depends on how the Philadelphia defense plays.
See,
We're going to learn. We'll learn how good the Philadelphia defense is here.
Yeah.
Pretty rapidly. So, okay, Jahan Dotson. And then obviously you're recommending sitting Terry McLaurin. We already went through it. He struggles against Slay.
Every time.
And
so
fair enough. I'm not going to co-sign these statements. And I know the other one that you're interested in is Chris Olave versus the Saints. My question is not Michael Thomas, who's been making a lot of hay in the red zone.
Yeah, I think Thomas is your more consistent play, but because of the fact that I expected the big play, I think you go with Olave for that, because he is going to be the one who is further downfield and has really shown that he can just explode off the ball. Like, once you put that in his hands, he's gone. So I expect him to continue to build rapport with Winston and have success going. I mean, in a great matchup, or not a great matchup, but a decent matchup.
A decent matchup, yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, then at tight end, and I've got an issue with this because of all our prior conversations for the last forever, recommending Evan Ingram versus the Chargers.
Yep,
you sell out.
I know,
you utter shill. Sold out your whole belief system in 2 weeks.
Well, because of the fact that he is actually catching his passes. I don't know what has changed.
He's getting more of than you had projected. This is one of the ones where I was like looking at your projection and I'm like, I know you love Dan Arnold, but I know you love Dan Arnold, but it's not Dan Arnold. It's Evan Ingram. And as much as I hate it, it's
because of the fact that he's catching the ball. Like, it blows me away, and he's seeing double-digit targets
because he's catching the ball.
Correct. So
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. He keeps catching it, so they keep throwing it to you. And I agree, because the Chargers have not been particularly great against the tight end. And if you're looking for a streamer, Evan Ingram is a solid option. And we already talked about George Kittle versus Denver. George Kittle loves to house Denver. It makes him so happy to come to Denver.
That was another stipulation for that. Is I'm just assuming he plays. So.
If he plays, I'm excited about it, because he has a history of housing Denver's little face, especially in Denver. He loves doing this, and it's one of his favorite games to just go off and go crazy, and especially because this is if he's actually healthy, like they're saying he is, look out. Like, and especially given how the Broncos defense has been playing, it has not been playing great. So sits are interesting. Hawkinson versus Minnesota, we covered ad nauseum. I get that. We're just going to leave that there. We covered that in the first part of the show. Let's move on.
Well, we kind of covered the second one too.
Yeah, I know, but I want to spend a minute on that because so your thing is
I think that
Parham is back this week. You're saying?
I am pretty sure he's going to be back this week. He wasn't listed on the injury report, but he did log a limited practice. Okay. That's the only reason I'm having an issue with Everett for sure. And
I know you love Donald Parham, but you think Donald Parham just merely getting healthy immediately cuts into Gerald Everett's workload. He already knows
the offense. That's
okay. To what extent are we talking about here? Like 20% comes off Gerald Everett, or
I was saying 40.
Okay,
yeah,
that's kind of wanted you to say it because that's where I was gonna. I don't want to lead you to it.
Yeah, so I was thinking 40.
Okay,
and his first week back, and that hurts him a lot because especially since even fewer targets are going to be available because more than likely Allen is also going to be back and playing. So both of those options really just take away the center of the field, and splitting a tight end is never a thing that you want to do.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Which is why we don't.
It never works.
Conklin.
It never works.
He was almost back.
Yeah, it never works. It never works. Okay. All right. Well, that's the explanation, folks. There it is. And so, we know we didn't miss much. We didn't.
Well,
miss
that's
much.
part of the reason we did it.
Yeah, that is part of the reason why we did it.
Did it hit the over?
Yeah. It's 24-17. What was the over?
Oh my gosh. I think it was 40. Let me see. 30. I think it was 37, but we'll see. I have it at the top. Get up there. 38. Whoa. Creepy.
That was creepy. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up here, but we have one last thing before we go, which was defenses. And we already talked about this briefly. You want to say a little bit more about your Houston Texans pick?
No,
for defense? I'm already wrong, so I can't say anything. I've already failed. I've already failed today, so it's fine.
I just like the Texans so much. I think they're playing very well. And the fact that they were able to do that to Russell Wilson, granted, it is a new offense and everything else, but he should have been able to show out against them, and he didn't. They were able to really shut down his primary options for the majority of the game. And the Bears are going up against Fields, who, if they're going to just run the ball, it's going to be a low scoring game. So great for you. There's nothing else I really have to say.
I just want to acknowledge that this is a very risky thing that you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
to do. But okay. It's like, but I'm already wrong anyway. I wanted the Browns tonight because I thought they'd be able to stop the steal. What we learned is the Browns secondary is atrocious. This is what we've learned, is that the Browns secondary is really bad. And your sit for the week is the Bengals against the Jets.
Yeah, because we kind of touched on it, but this could easily end up being kind of a shootout game. I could see Joe Flacco easily just throwing the ball over the field, and the Bengals haven't looked great. The first 2 weeks, I don't believe in their defense. I suggested them week 2, and I was like, oh, it's a great matchup. They should be fine. No, clearly not the case.
Yeah, no, the Bengals defense is concerning. The whole Bengals team is concerning right now, so it's difficult to trust anything, especially with there are still better options available.
Jets, it blows me away.
Well, the Jets ended up moving the ball against Cleveland, and that's what's also scaring me is the Jets didn't do much for part of that game, but then suddenly, similar to this game actually, that I'm kind of like the Browns defense, like they try, but then eventually they give up a huge play, and it's like, well, can't be doing that. So for fantasy purposes, so I'd say it's probably best to avoid that too. But with that, is besides the Texans, is there anybody else that you're excited about for?
I have that's just it. I have a lot of well, maybe not a lot of defenses.
I don't think there are that many this week because many of them are heavily rostered.
And
that Bengals one is a hot take because the fantasy industry loves the Bengals this week. Just so we're clear,
which again, completely understand it, but it's.
I want the Saints. I also wanted the Saints. The Saints, I think, could be good.
Yeah, I have the Saints Carolina. I have them at 2 this week. I have the 49ers up there because, like you guys kind of touched on,
if they can't even call plays, it's gonna get really bad.
Yeah, Low scoring game again. I could go Giants or Cowboys. I have both of those as like potential streamers. And then I think it's going to be more the fact that I think the Chargers are good. So shocker, I know, but that defense is actually good. They just two non-call picks.
The question is, we're going to learn again. There's a couple
sacks.
games. This is why I don't like doing trades before week 4, right? Because we're still learning things about teams. We're going to learn something, I think, about Jacksonville this week.
Are they true?
Because the Chargers, I think we know already, that's a good football team. Like they're good as long as they're healthy.
They're very well rounded.
As long as they're healthy, they're good. They're like a complete team. They have a good offense. They have a pretty good defense. They do good things. They get a lot of sacks if you let them. So it's like that's a good thing too. So like the Chargers is a good football team. They're going to compete in that division. The Jacksonville is like they've played 2 really good games. Great. Great. Like let's see what happens when you play not the Colts. Like
which, again, that game could have been completely different if Pittman were healthy, I think.
It could have been, but they got completely undressed, and also Jacksonville looked good in week 1. So I think if we can get through like 2 more games, let me put it this way: if Jacksonville's 4-0, I'll start believing in stuff.
But again, this is also one of the weaknesses of the Chargers is losing games
that you should win. Yeah, losing games that you should easily win. Yeah, no,
like this game. Yeah. A couple years ago, we lost, and then the Browns game a couple years ago, we lost. And
because it's like you don't even try. It's like your team shows up and is like just like
we're there for the first half, and then
the problem is that it's also at home, which is also when you guys tend to do this even more. I would actually,
overseas.
And it would be and it would be bad too it would also be bad even if you were going to
Jacksonville.
Yeah, West Coast team traveling east. Yeah, like that. But it's interesting. It's interesting. So no, I'm expecting Jacksonville to win that game though, or not Jacksonville, excuse me. The Chargers to win that game though.
Thank you.
I'm expecting the Chargers to win that game. Like they should win that game. That is a game they should win. Like it should be a big Austin Eckler day, and like that's the thing that concerns me more about anything is for the Chargers related. And
they're giving him a full touchdown though. That's making me more nervous than anything.
Yeah, it's more. I just don't like how much I'm watching Josh Kelly play football. Like a lot more Josh Kelly being in that game than I want to see. Like, don't like that.
A lot more Sonny Michel than I was expecting.
Oh yeah, no, and that shouldn't even be possible. Like Sonny Michel should be firmly on the sideline. Like not even.
Staley loves him. Like, it's the weirdest thing.
And he's terrible. And it's like, and he looks terrible consistently.
In comparison to Eckler, for sure. Yeah.
Well, in comparison to even Kelly, and it's like, Josh Kelly's not even. Granted, he was young when people started writing him off, so maybe he's developed a little bit. But Josh Kelly hasn't done much.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say. That so
last 2 years behind Jackson.
Yeah, but then they thought so little of you that they went and drafted Isaiah Spiller, and now he's getting the same treatment. They've got him sitting off to the side. And it's like, I don't know what you guys are doing over here. I don't get it. Like, I'm completely mystified by what you're doing. But it is what it is. They're still a quality football team. Those questionable decisions aside, you know what I mean? Like they're going to compete.
I watch them every week, man. I don't know what else to tell you.
We'll see. But it's like it does make me nervous, this Jacksonville game, because it's like this is the game. This is the kind of game you should win pretty handily. And Jacksonville actually shows up and tries. Like James Robinson scores twice in the first half, and suddenly it's a football game the entire time. And that could be bad. And Christian Kirk does things like
that's the.
You got to be hoping as a Chargers fan that you just shut them down like early, like you just sucker punch them like as hard as you can.
You do that, and we end up. That's just it. I'm worried about that too because they get too far ahead.
Right, they get complacent, and then in the fourth quarter they're coming back. Yeah, I could see that too. It'll be a fun game. But Jason, it's a pleasure as always, my friend. And
always a blast.
And we'll do this again soon. But as the people can always find you at that FF Nerd. Do you have anything you want to plug currently besides the normal
Sunday,
stuff?
man. I'm doing the Start Sit Twitter space, 4 hours every Sunday morning, 8 to noon. Golly, it's brutal, but I'm there for you guys to answer all of your questions.
People underestimate how brutal it is. I'm not kidding. Like I've done it with you. We've done it with you, both myself individually multiple times and as a site. We've done it with you. It's not a small commitment.
Which is why I went to this space, is because of the fact that while I read through the Fantasy Life questions and answer them, I'm able to give a lot more feedback and like actually give you details instead of just like this person.
Right. Right.
So,
But it's always a pleasure, and obviously we'll see you back here next Thursday and every Thursday during the
Monday.
football season. Monday
maybe
as well
I guess
for
if
the
we can
waiver
find somebody
report.
else.
No, Monday as well for the waiver report. I think Steve will be on with you for that this week.
Woohoo!
So check that out. With I'm not sure if Neil will be on again. I think he will be. But
I mean, hopefully he'll bring some IDP picks because that is his special tag.
it is, and I think we're gonna have new to the site who was just on with us on Wednesday, Mike Berland, also popping in on Monday as well.
Excellent. I'm so excited.
So
That's going to be a big show.
Yeah, I think we're going to do that. We're going to see how many people we can actually pack in there. But that's for Monday. So Jason, as always, appreciate all the work you do. And I know everybody who's stuck around with us probably enjoyed all the bonus content. Next week, normal service. Should be back
hopefully
resuming.
only an hour.
No, it'll be an hour. It'll be an hour. Believe me. I forgot. You and I used to have rules for doing these shows with you when it was 2 years ago, and I forgot about them. And then halfway through the first half hour, I'm like, I remember why we used to do this. I remember why I used to summarize so much of what like gets produced on this, and then also just with you and I, because it was also with Jordan. Jordan wasn't helping me. Normally, when you drop one of the hot take knowledge bombs, the key is we got to power through it. And no, the Jahan Dotson one is the one that did it. It was the Jahan Dotson. It like threw
my start of the week, yeah.
And also we started 20 minutes later than normal because doing the normal show because we were answering people's questions for Thursday because of the altered time slot for this week. Yeah. And actually, thank you for people for tuning in and for that little experiment, because it was a little experiment to see if people wanted us to come on right before the show and start answering questions. So you fell for it. So some big brain, some high knowledge brain stuff happening over there. So we might do that at that time slot and then just build in for the idea that we're going to have to answer questions for people, because it seemed like a good thing to do. Because we got people asking Thursday night questions, and in the future, those will be the questions that we prioritize. But
which is why I was like, I mean, we need to be a little earlier, but it's one of those things.
No, we can knock it up a little earlier, but it can only be up so much earlier.
Yeah,
15 more minutes. But that's that's roster the people for week 3, folks. The ultra nonsense edition of roster the people week 3. Jason, pleasure as always. I'm Neil Smith. That's Jason Draven at @nonsense_Neil at that FF nerd. And until we see you next time, keep up the nonsense.